Everybody, welcome back to the Cain Stevens Super Show. I am your super host, Cain Stevens, and this is another super guest. We're knocking him out of the park like Babe Ruth or something. I've got an old friend of mine from high school. We played football together. We're going to catch up on this podcast. He's doing some great things. He works for Harris Decals, and he's also on an awesome, super awesome podcast about racing called Quicktime, the podcast. So let's give Josh Harris, my old buddy, a nice little round of applause, everybody. Welcome to the show, Josh. How are you? I'm glad you decided to do the show. I personally don't know anything about racing. I've seen racing. I see racing on in the background of your, what you got going on. It looks like we just talked about it a little bit. This is kind of the race cave, so to speak, of where you guys do your podcast, correct?
Yeah, so we about a year or so ago, I jumped on as a co-host to the podcast, just wanted to try it out. And I said my one stipulation is we got to do it at my house because I didn't want to drive anywhere or go anywhere. And
Yeah.
that way, you do it in the middle of the week. You don't want to, you have kids and you got to get them ready and stuff. But no, it's turned out to be we've had multiple requests for people to come here and do the podcast for interviews, and we finally ixed it. We were just like, we can't talk about what we want to, and the guest is there, and it's just awkward. But no,
Yeah.
this is the race cave I'm sitting in.
And that's actually what this whole thing was about. I was just going to talk to you and see if maybe I could just have my podcast at your podcast site, right?
Yeah,
No,
there you go. See, you got the bar. I'm ready.
yeah, I mean you've got it all. I mean, I've looked at pictures and different things that you guys have going on. I've watched some videos of what you guys have done, listened to a little bit of the podcast, and man, I mean, it sounds like you guys are doing a good deal. I mean, I personally am a complete idiot when it comes to racing. I'm not against it. I like it. I just there's no qualm from me about it. I don't know, it's just never really been my thing. I'm into football, I'm into paranormal investigating and all this stupid stuff that I do.
That's a little
Music.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird stuff, man. But tell me a little bit more about your podcast. Tell me about what you have going on right now with all that. Like why did you get into it? What really hooked you to racing and wanting to do a podcast about it?
So, I mean, you mentioned I worked at Harris Decals, so
Mhm.
it's a family company. With my brother being the owner, I've been in racing or around racing in the Midwest since when I was 10 years old, and I've been designing race cars for over 20 years. So it's almost a natural fit to do something like this because we
Right.
used to joke at my work that we were the barbershop of racing because you would come get your car designed and you tell me a story about your season or stuff like that, or I'd know information that no one knew because you're good friends with the people that are racing and they're big name people. As I got older, it's funny because my kids don't even know they know what dad does, but they care less that I go to races and things like
Yeah.
that. But talking to some of these guests, I mean, it's awesome to get to meet them or guys that I don't normally meet on a day-to-day basis at my work. And it's branched out to actually to be around different race car drivers that, now I do their lettering for their race cars because of the podcast, and they see stuff like that, and they just, I don't know, they always told me I'm a likable guy, so it's easy to get along with me. So that's probably a plus.
It is
But
a
no, and
plus.
I work with Brandon. Yeah, I work with Brandon. Brad's a good friend of me and Brandon. I mean, I met him through Brandon, but we've grown to become really good friends. I mean, it's a really neat kind of environment between the three of us. And we joke that everyone's like, "Oh, they give Josh so much grief." I'm like, you don't even see the half of what I get at work from Brandon. He'll tell me my cars look like crap or garbage, even though
Right.
he'll tell me at the end of the day they look really good. But other than that, it's just been a whirlwind of a year doing it. That's for sure.
That was a pretty intense. I remember your post from years ago when you had like test in order to do the decal stuff, right? There's like a isn't there so like and it was like an intense thing, right? It's like it's not easy, like anybody can't do it, correct?
So to get certified as a wrap installer,
Hmm.
you have to get it's a test that's like 20 times a year, and literally you have to take 100 or a 50 question test, and once you pass that, you then move on to the wrapping portion of it. And literally they'll tell you, my first one we did in where is it, Atlanta. And he told us, he goes, just let you know, literally 1 to 2 people out of this class of 20 is going to actually pass this test.
Wow.
And I went in not, I didn't really wrap many cars. I designed a lot of race cars. I designed a lot of cars. And my brother had way more experience than I did, and he didn't even pass the first time. I knew I wouldn't pass,
Right.
but a couple of tests later, the last one that pretty much, as you say, it was intense was when I went to New York. I was practiced, I was ready, focused, and passed the written test. I got past the first 2 stages of the test, and there's 4 stages. That third stage, my wrap ripped, and you're
Oh,
pretty much hosed. Like you're
yeah.
done. Like sayonara. I flew out to New York for nothing, and it
Yeah.
it felt like that. But with all that, I mean, I was done. Like I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like this isn't fun. And my brother's like, let's send you back to designing. You enjoyed that, so went back to designing. Right after that, went down to the Tulsa Shootout down in Oklahoma, and just been blowing up since then. Like I've been designing race cars like it's nothing. Like it's just when I first started. It feels great.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So that's what you do more of. You do more of the design work and stuff like that for it.
yeah. I mean, we as a company probably design anywhere from 600 to 1,000 race cars nationwide. So I mean,
Wow.
the ones I really talk about are the local guys who are bigger operations than some of the ones that we ship to. But other than that, I get a lot of people from Colorado, California, shoot, Australia, Canada. I mean,
Yeah.
it's insane to see the growth of this business, how it's come to where it's at.
So do you guys do a lot of travel then? Do you have to travel to all these different places where these people want this stuff done, or do they just send it to you? And
No, so like ordering online, back when we first started, we were about 70% shipping out of Nebraska to
Mhm.
different places because you're such a new company that the signs nows, the fast signs and stuff like that,
Yeah.
they have the market, and you're just a mom and pop shop. And I mean, I'm sure I don't know if you remember in high school, I used to sell decals, and
Yeah,
that
yeah, I do
was
remember.
literally working. My brothers worked at Signs Now, and I would go there on the weekends and cut stuff and sell it for $2.
Yeah.
But once we got rolling and picking up bigger clients, it's probably more like 25% we actually ship to, and the rest is all local in Nebraska. So it's pretty insane to see how far it's grown.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Well, let's talk about, you touched on high school. I mean, let's talk about how we know each other. We met each other and we know each other from playing football at Lincoln High, right? And
Hmm. Yep.
I don't necessarily know what people really thought about me. I mean, I know I was always messing around. I was really intense at times, when it came to playing.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know what'd you think of me? Did you think I was a jerk? I mean, I get along.
No.
I thought we got along pretty good. I mean, you and I think we always kind of BS'd.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like me, you, Wayne Harris, and
Yeah,
I mean, I was one of the bench warmers, so
yeah.
I could care less how good I was. I mean, the one story though I tell my kids all the time when homecoming comes around was I was like my senior year. I remember homecoming because of you and
Oh,
your
really?
concussion you had. Because
Yeah.
remember you had a concussion that night, and
Well, I don't remember it.
homecoming got pushed way back.
Yeah.
You probably don't remember that, right? but
No, no, but
but
I
that's
do
what I
remember
remember.
going through it. I just that one I don't know, man. It rung my bell just right where I don't remember dressing for the game or anything,
Wow.
man. And I actually, I boxed and did all sorts of crazy stuff when I was younger. So I've had my bell rung so many times. It's like I almost guarantee I have a CTE. Like I'm convinced that I probably do have it because I did, man. I got knocked out, and not a lot, but enough. I mean, it doesn't take much.
Oh
So
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, the Oklahoma drills we used to do. I mean, as scrawny as I was, I mean, if I went against you, I'd be laying flat on my back and be like, I can't move.
That's how I felt hitting Brent Shaw when they put me and Brent Shaw
Yeah,
against. He was like an immovable
right,
wall, and I could move people. Back then,
right,
I was
yeah,
bigger than I am now. I could really move it, but I could never move that dude. We would hit each other, and it'd be
right.
like bam, like this. and it'd just be me driving my feet and him not moving.
Well, I remember, I mean, the offensive line guys were always the hilarious ones. Like you guys were just the joking around you guys would do
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff like that. And then we'd have to run. We'd have to
yeah.
run our laps or whatever. And you guys would always be like dogs slow, and you're
Oh,
like, come
we are
on,
horrible.
lineman.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, they had us running a lot, like us linemen. Like we had Coach Fultz, and so he'd have us
Yep.
doing gassers, especially if we were on his defense. We did gassers
Yeah.
all the time, and it was like I swear, like I was close to death at least 30 times with him. Like no breaks, but I loved it. He was like the best coach and the most inspiring I'd ever been around. But it was just like he was teaching us, but it was like, man, can I at least get like a couple of drinks in between or something?
Oh yeah. I mean, we never got drinks. It was
No,
like
never.
run, run. It's like
Yeah,
nowadays it's like you got to drink every 5 minutes. It was like you drank at
exactly.
the end of practice and the beginning of practice, and that was it.
Well, I mean, like we're getting close to it where it's getting closer to that point where we would have been like getting to two-a-days and stuff like that. And it was rough, man. I mean, if anybody hasn't been through football, you want to go through torture, go through two-a-days of football, in 100-degree heat and all those pads and everything, not drinking water, running all the time, and then see if you still got it. I mean, if you have anything left
Yeah.
in you. It really
Well, even
made me
by the
the
end of
person that
each
I am.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were always shorter, you know what I mean? But you worked hard, dude. Like I do remember, like I did joke around with you guys a lot, especially you and Wayne and stuff. And I mean, so what? You guys didn't play all the game, but you guys played hard, just like Wayne played hard. I'll say to this
Yeah.
day that Wayne played as hard as anybody that we had out there, and so did you,
Oh yeah.
man.
Swain.
But yeah, Wayne Harris, if you're out there, you're our guy. All right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I remember, like you say, instrumental, like, and motivational. When you play sports in high school, Lincoln High had the best as far as motivating you to play to be your best. I
Yeah.
mean, you say, I mean, I would come in and work out in the summer, and I'd have friends of mine. They're like, "Why? What's the point? Like, go play
Right.
basketball. Don't you? Why do you need to get ready for football? Football is just a precursor for basketball." And it's like when after I didn't make the team my sophomore year, I'm like, I got to play a sport. I want to play football. I mean, go back to it. Why not? I mean,
Right.
but just being around the guys, and I mean, we won 4 games our senior year, but we still made state. I
I
mean,
know,
how
isn't that
dumb is
crazy?
that? It helps when you got Richard Ross though on your team, who pretty much makes amazing catches all day long. And
Yeah, and
I
he's
mean,
like in the
I,
he's like in the Hall of Fame of everything now, like they keep adding. Isn't he the coach now? Isn't he the basketball coach?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's a varsity basketball coach now. So I
dude,
mean,
that is
imagine
so
that.
wild. We were around some
I
talented
remember.
people. I mean, Ty Graham, all those people. We had
Yeah.
backups that were as good as anybody's starters. And I don't know what it was, man. We just couldn't. If you remember, we just couldn't turn the corner when it came to a lot of games. Like we had dumb stuff would happen, fumbles, stupid crap here and there. Of course, we got annihilated by Southeast back then, but everybody did.
Against the Rude brothers, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I still can't stop. When I think about those guys, people will brag to me and I'll be like, man, we played against them. I hated those guys. Like, I mean, we were throwing that tire crap in each other's eyes and punching each other in the in the pile.
I mean,
I
it
mean,
must be the guys in the trenches.
yeah, oh yeah. So I hated the Root brothers. I mean, I don't have anything against them now, but I mean, I'm an Iowa fan too. I was born in Iowa and stuff, so it's not like I'm in love with Nebraska football anyway, but I respect it. I mean, we came around
Oh yeah.
an awesome time. I mean, do you still watch a lot of football?
So I'm a huge Michigan fan. I mean,
Oh,
I've been a
that's right.
Michigan
I do
fan
remember
since I
that.
was
You're nothing
little.
about the Huskers. Well, I don't like you either,
Yeah.
man. I don't like Michigan.
Sorry.
No, no. I do remember that, man. And I remember people giving me crap because they're like, man, Iowa sucks. And it's just like, well, they did. I mean, back then they really sucked.
Yeah.
But it's hard to not like Michigan a little bit. I mean, Michigan's been around forever. I don't really hate them. I only hate them when they play Iowa. You know what I mean? Like it's always something. But Iowa had Michigan's number for a while too. So it's like maybe I shouldn't even
Yeah,
talk
during
about
Brady
this stuff.
Hoke.
Like talking locally, if I say all this stuff, I'm probably gonna get like I'll bet there's a pitchfork group coming to my house right now, getting ready to burn my house down. So
Maybe it's those snakes coming in. They're trying to get you since you're an Iowa fan.
dude, they're looking at me right now. I'm looking at this window and it's just like, They're literally, it drives me nuts. They're right there, and it's like the snake just won't go away, and its little friends are starting to come in, and now they're. Do you like snakes? I hate snakes.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
don't even
don't
like
do snakes.
spiders.
I don't like spiders. I don't like any of that creepy crawly crap. I'm not gonna like get on a chair if I see a spider, unless it's like a tarantula. But like a
Right.
snake, I mean, when I'm mowing in the yard, I will literally yell out like a girl. I mean, high pitched squeal, run off, throw my mower at it if I can, and run. Like it's ridiculous. I'm sure my neighbors have seen some stuff, bro.
That's awesome.
I mean, little gardener snakes, man. They're just, I mean, what are they like, yay long? I mean, just little dudes, man, but they just scare the crap out of
Yeah.
me.
And they're like the ones I had, we had one a year or so ago, and it was like black and yellow,
Hmm.
and it scared the crud out of me. Like it was behind our trash can.
Yeah.
I'm like, uh,
Uh,
hope to God you're not there when I
yeah.
move my trash can. But yeah,
I
no
remember I
thanks.
hit one with my mower one time, and it was like, you would think as terrified as I'm like, oh, good, thank God I got him. But I like had this, I don't know, I had like this empathetic feeling to, I felt bad, So I went and I grabbed a rake, of course, a long rake, and I scooped him and took him and like threw him like, good luck, buddy. As like half of him's like falling apart. Yeah. I'm like, thank God he's out of my yard. Sorry if you
Right.
died, but I feel bad for you in that moment.
Wow. That no thanks. I
No,
mean, not
so
for
let's
me.
talk some more about racing, man. So I mean, you guys obviously you get to talk to all these drivers. You probably make a lot of really good relationship. Plus, you're doing the decals and all this stuff. So I mean, racers are pretty interesting, aren't they? I mean, it takes something to be a racer like that, doesn't it?
You got to have big kahunas to run
Yeah.
some of these cars the way they do. I mean, more props to them. I just this weekend went to Jefferson County Speedway in
Hmm.
Fairbury where the midgets were running. I mean, these things are high powered, non-winged. If you flip, you're going to barrel roll,
Yeah.
and typically you're going to bust up your spine. Multiple people I know have done that. I mean, but it's the risk you take for what you race and what you love to do. But the
Right.
sad part about it is they don't get paid as much as they should. I mean, like the race was paying 10 grand to win. It takes $3,000 to $4,000 just to show up that night to race. So I mean, not everybody walks home with 10 grand. Really, you make six after minus it all out.
Right.
But I mean, it's the best thing about racing is it's a lot to do with the love of the sport. I posted that on Facebook last week and I got tons of response. And it's like, we do it because we love it. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's what I love talking to these guys because they all start with either micros or cage carts. They move up through the ranks and become someone. And it's just really cool to see that transition for all of them.
Right. Well, I mean, it's big business too. I mean, they're putting in a lot of money all this time. I mean, there's so much into it. I remember me when I was playing in the cover bands. We played Eagle Raceway one time, and I thought this is gonna be like the most one. It was like I thought this was gonna be the most popping gig of my life, because it was like the championships or something. But if for
Mhm.
whatever reason it went late, and we were supposed to play like immediately after. And
Right.
so we only got like a short, maybe like 5 or 6 sets. And we played like 5 people who were all wore out because it was late. But I remember thinking to
Right.
myself, watching all these trailers and everything, like these people, I mean, their trailers, their cars, all this stuff alone is like unreal amounts of money. And then they're wrecking, they're
Yep.
doing all that. I can't even imagine how much money and time they're putting into this stuff. It's got to be crazy.
Well, not only that, I mean, your engine. Let's say you run Eagle Raceway in a 305.
Yeah,
That's $30,000 for just your motor. I mean,
man.
for us to wrap your car, that's another $1,000.
Yeah,
For a top wing alone before you wrap it's $1,000. All
right.
four tires is $1,000. I mean, it adds up and it adds up fast. I mean, that's why I always joke with people. They're like, oh, they're not showing up to this race. I'm like, do you have their bank account that they have to pay all this? I don't think so.
Yeah,
But I mean, it is what it is when it comes to money. But as far as the people that you're around at the racetrack is just an awesome experience. And
yeah.
talking, on our podcast is it's getting to hear the stories. I mean, we love hearing the old stories of the guy got out of the race car and they started fighting, or like,
Right.
guy pulled the guy out of the RV thing to fight him. And sounds like they fight a lot at the races, but
It happens, right? I mean, their juices are
yeah,
flowing, they get pissed. I mean, it's just like NASCAR, like everybody, which I think is kind of awful. Like everybody when they watch NASCAR, it's like they almost they want something to happen, like a crash, which I think
yes,
is so terrible. Or they want the drivers to get so mad at each other they throw their helmets at each other and beat the crap out of each other, right? But it's like,
yeah.
but the juices are flowing. These are men's men, you know what I mean? Like they're going at it and it's tough. So
Yeah.
it happens from time to time. So you guys wrap cars. I mean, do you wrap regular cars too, or do you just like do you wrap anything? Like, would you wrap my
So
Ford
we
Pinto or something if I needed like a?
no, we wouldn't do that. We used to a couple years ago. We used to try to wrap literally everything you could think of, and
Yeah,
it got to the point that it was just you didn't not that you didn't make any money, but it was just time of time you didn't have enough time to do it all.
right.
So we stick to mainly commercial wraps, race car wraps, and stuff like that. I still design helmets and stuff, but that's not really wrapping helmets. That's putting graphics on a helmet.
Yeah,
So you have to get people to understand the difference between a wrap and putting graphics on because they think, well, shoot, you're going to take my Ford Pinto and make it red.
hmm,
Well, in 5 years, that vinyl is going to wear out as opposed to a paint job that probably lasts you 20, 25 years. I mean,
right.
it's not cost effective for somebody to do that for sure. But no, and like you said with the wrecking of race cars, I used to get told all the time that I bet you can't wait for when somebody wrecks, you're excited. I go, no, I'm not excited about that. I was like,
Right.
I'm excited when a guy wins the race and there's my car I designed sitting in victory lane because I know
Yeah,
they're going to
and
race the
it's
next one.
gleaming and looks all beautiful, and yeah, I mean that.
Right.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah. And
sense.
I got told multiple times that your car doesn't have to look good to go fast. I was like, it doesn't have to look good to go fast, but sponsors don't want a car that looks like
Exactly.
trash.
You're
So
exactly
yeah.
right. And plus, people who don't know anything about racing, there's people who go to the track all the time and know nothing, and they'll see a car that they just like, and all of a sudden the car's doing good, and then they get behind this guy. So I mean, there is something to be said about a car that looks good. I mean, idiots like myself who know nothing about racing, if I saw a car that looked cool, maybe if I saw a car with, you know, uh, I don't know, a snake with doing machine guns or something, and I could get behind that. That's not probably not
There's a
something
guy that
you.
has a monkey with machine guns.
Yeah, hey, well, that's good. Anything with machine guns, really, right?
But no, otherwise, I mean, it's design wise, it's really changed. Like when I first started designing, it was checkers and flames and stuff like that and scallops.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's straight edges. And I used to joke that it was rectangles and squares
Hmm.
because literally that's all it really was. But as I've kind of gotten older, I've seen it change, and I've tried to make my style be a little different than most in
Right.
that atmosphere. But I still get grief from Brandon on the show that it looks just like everybody else's, but maybe not to me.
How long have you guys, like, you guys got quite a few episodes in the can now, don't you? You've been doing it for, what did you say, like a year or so?
So, Quicktime the podcast actually celebrated not this last week, but the week before the 100th episode.
Oh wow, that's
But
good.
that was
That's a good
Brandon.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon, Brad, and another co-host was on there, Jason Orth, and they basically brought it, to where it is till I got there, and then then we kind of moved to that, and it, we're this is gonna be tomorrow night is gonna be our 102nd episode, and each week I get excited to do it. I mean, I thought for sure I'd get burned out in a year, and I told Brandon, I'm like, let's try it, let's see what I do, if I like it. My wife always jokes with me that, you could stick me in a room and I'll make a friend with anybody, or I'll
Right.
be talking to the whole room by the end of the night. And I didn't believe that as much as when I get on the podcast because I have no fear to talk to these people. And most people are like, how do you ask this question? I'm sure you have the same deal on your show. I mean, it's tough to come up with the questions and
It is.
keep the thing rolling. I mean, no dead time and stuff like that.
Well, you give good answers. Sometimes you'll get a guest and they just want to give like yes or no answers. Like, and then so you basically have to run. Like, I hate to be the one to, like, right now, I don't want to be the one to run the conversation the whole. I mean, of course, that's the point, but I don't want to have to, like, be like it sound like a narcissist where I have to hear myself talk. Like I want to, have like an equal conversation. You get what I mean? And I think that's the hardest
No, I
part
totally get what you
is,
mean.
how do you react when the guest isn't a great guest, Like that's the toughest. I did some editing for like other podcasts and different things. And when I would watch their podcasts, I learned so much from them because I had early iterations of like my podcasts, and this
Mhm.
didn't work and that didn't work. But I kind of just learn a bit of a little bit each time. Do you listen to a lot of podcasts? Because I do. I listen to a ton.
So I get in trouble with the fact that I listen to other racing podcasts because some of the questions I'll come up with, they're like, well, they said that on this show. And it's like, yeah, but I want to go a little bit deeper into it. And
Right.
they kind of, and Brandon's the one he'll bring me back. He's like, you got to be authentic. You can't be like everybody else. You got to change it.
Yeah.
And when I first started, and I'm sure you had this when you first started, is how do you ask a question? I mean, like I was like, I have a question for you, and I listened to the first couple episodes I ever did, and it was me asking to ask a question, and Brandon's like, X, get rid of that.
Yeah.
Like you said, bring the conversation to you or to the question you want to ask. Don't try to make the question come out. And I'm like, this is tough. Like this is hard to sit and look at it from your side of the view. I'm sure it's even tougher to have a show that's multiple different venues of things like what you're trying to do.
Mhm. Well, it's just a matter of me, it's just I tried so many different iterations. I mean, I kind of always circle back to the weird stuff because I'm a weird guy. And people
What?
like talking about that. People want to talk about ghosts and goblins and all this stuff. But but I just wanted to broaden my horizons and talk to people like yourself, that are dig things. I mean, things that I'm not necessarily into, but it doesn't mean that I don't like it. It just means that it's not the road that I took. And so,
Yeah.
that's why I think this is a beautiful conversation here. I get to catch. You know what this really is, Josh? This is just me forcing my guys I knew in high school and people that I never talked to talk to me in some so this is
Oh,
really
I
just
see
like,
how it
Kane,
is.
this is your life, that's all it is.
Here's Kane's friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I'm
But
probably boring in my like regular, like I'll sit around and we'll binge watch TV shows, we'll do all this stuff. I mean, yeah, I play music and all this stuff, but when it comes to like being around my family, I just joke around and just kind of hang out. I'm pretty chill. I mean, I had heart problems 3 years ago. I don't get to do any of the stuff that I used to do. So it's like when I get to do something like this, I center it in on something like that. I really go all in on it. It's just like with music, man. And you're a hell of a lot busier than I am. I mean, I may appear like I'm busy for a lot of, but I mean, this is kind of what I'm centered in right now. Um,
I
but
mean, busy is busy. It's all time. You think about it. But if
yeah,
you're doing like, to me, doing a show just like you're doing the show now this is an escape from everything else because
yes,
I'm not thinking about what I got to do tomorrow at work
no,
or what kid has what going on tonight. It's for an hour to 2 hours. All I'm doing is talking racing, or I'm talking on this show. It's it's just like having a conversation outside, with your neighbor or something like that.
right,
It it's relaxing, and people are like, it's got to be stressful. It's like, oh, it's not stressful. If you know the person or you're friends with the person, it makes
yeah,
it even easier.
yeah, absolutely. So, you know, do you play video games at all? I mean, have you played the dirt track game at all that's out there? What do you think of it? I kind of I checked it out. I played a little bit of Wreckfest and like that type of stuff. Like, what are your favorite racing games? Like you play the dirt track game. What is it, World of Outlaws or whatever?
Yeah, yeah. The World of Outlaws game, which they're coming out with an update, I think in September or in
Mhm.
August, one of the two, where they're adding midgets, which is what I went to go watch.
Yeah.
It it's gone. It's gotten way better than what it was back in the day when it was rat bag racing and stuff like that. I actually started playing a little bit of F1 because my neighbor plays. He's like,
Mhm.
"Hey, try playing this." Um, but otherwise, yeah, I gravitate more towards playing racing games. But at the same time, shoot, for about 5, 6 years of my life, I played Madden and NCAA football with like 4 or 5 different people, and we played every night.
Yeah.
And once you have kids, that kind of
It's hard to
goes by the
do.
wayside. Yeah, it's hard to stay up that late and do that. And but it was a lot of fun. And but I have no, like you said, time. I have no time to
Yeah.
sit and play. I play video games with my son. We play FIFA, and I don't play soccer. But yeah, he has never beat me in FIFA, which is hilarious.
FIFA is pretty fun, man. Even if you don't like soccer, a person can get down to FIFA. Like it's a pretty darn good
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
Well, not only that, they had Ted Lasso in it. I mean, you get to play it as AFC Richmond from the show, and that's even cooler. I mean, my
Yeah.
wife walked by and she's like, "Did they just say Roy Kent?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's in the game." And she's like, "That's pretty cool."
Well, in I
My
play
son
Madden.
has no clue.
I waste my money buying Madden every year, but it's like there hasn't been a good update or a good Madden in years. It's like the same game they recycle, like all the glitch. I mean, I'm not one to, I can't make a video game and I applaud them, but it's like, can we get like better if we keep giving you guys $70 a year or whatever? Can we just get like some improvements, something else, you know? And it's so frustrating. Then I got excited because the college football game is supposed to be coming back, but now I see that I know I'm dying for it, but now I see that they're getting ready to sue him again, the nil or
What?
whatever, whoever's behind all the nil. So it's like, man, they're going to end up killing this game before it starts. You watch, and we're going to be back
Yeah.
to dumping all our money into Madden, hoping for the
Yeah,
best.
because that's where you can play college football in the whatever part of
Yeah.
it. I mean, if you want to, but
Yeah, I mean, you could spend
no,
a
I
hundred
mean,
dollars and you can have an Xbox 360 and play 2014, which is awesome. People have like updates, or you can play college football revamp. But what I do, I play. I have like emulators and stuff, so I play like Tecmo Super Bowl. To me, was the greatest football game of all time, and I still play it today. I would take on anybody who wants to take me on. We can have a tournament if people want, but I really feel like I'm meant to destroy in these tournaments. Like that's what I'm really shooting for here. I would love to do the tournaments because I've always been good at the game, but would I be good against the best? I mean, do you
well,
remember
not
that?
that they play in Wisconsin. They play in Wisconsin, don't they? Like some
They
huge,
do. They've
huge,
got it
huge
in
thing.
Wisconsin. They've got like multiple like major tournaments throughout the country now, and I really think I could kill at it. Or I go there and lose in the
Well,
first round and
depends on which one are you playing. You playing Tecmo Bowl or Super
no,
Tecmo Bowl?
Super Bowl, Tecmo Super Bowl. Tecmo Bowl's
Okay, because that's
good,
where
but
you get
Tecmo Super Bowl's like
right.
the epitome, in
The
my
Super
eyes.
Tecmo Bowl is yeah, it's got like
Yeah.
8 plays as opposed to four,
Yeah, yeah.
so the chances of you picking the play is less.
And what's
But
great is there's like
yeah,
ROM makers on those who they now make like updates for every year, and they also make
oh,
college football for it. So like I get all the ROMs for that, and then I play like all the current stuff. Like I had the NCAA one's pretty cool because they'll take like what they consider to be the top teams, and then you can just battle it out just like you would with that. But it's got a little NCAA graphic, and it's pretty sweet, man.
right.
I mean, these guys, there's some pretty smart guys out there. I wish I was one of them who could do that type of thing.
Well, I have two arcade systems here that
Yeah,
I keep debating. I'm like, I have NBA Jam and I have
yeah,
Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat one I could mod out and I could put any game I want on it. But
yeah, for sure.
I keep debating. I'm like, I could put Tecmo on there. I could put, and they came out with NFL Blitz for one of
Yeah,
these systems, and I'm like, NFL Blitz is nothing to I mean,
no,
what
not
Tecmo
like
was
that.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I have a modded Wii, and it has like every NES, every Super, every Sega, all that stuff. Like all the big arcade hits. And that's
Right.
good enough for me. But I mean, I always want more. I mean, I'm still a pretty big gamer. I always have been. And so I just you get greedy now because there's so much available that I just got to keep going. But you got what are they like the arcade one or one up or whatever?
Yeah, the one ups.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have NBA Jam, which has got the games. You can play that online.
yeah.
And then Mortal Kombat that has like 12 games in it.
Right. It doesn't have
But yeah,
the NBA jams one. That doesn't have college jam, does it? Also, dude, that'd
no,
be so
I
dope
wish
if
it
it
did.
did.
That'd be great.
I know
Yeah.
that was such an underrated game. Like people never talk about it, but it was like that was a killer game, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean it was a game that you finally got to play as college teams as opposed to the Michael Jordans or the
Yeah.
whoever. You got to play as college kids who, if you didn't know the team, you had no clue who they were. But if it was your team, you knew who that those players are. Sure.
Well, for me, it was like luckily Iowa has always been good enough at basketball where they were in that game, So I could have Iowa. I mean, I had no idea why Nebraska was in that game. No offense, but
Yeah,
I
about
don't
that. I don't
recall
think
them
they
being
were in
that
it.
good then. Yeah, Michigan, it's an obvious, North
Right.
Carolina, the Duke, all that's easy. But like here's Iowa and Nebraska. It's like, man, I can't believe they made the cut, but I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, that it used to be you hoped your school made it into whatever cut it had, because
Yeah,
in NCAA football, it was like less than all the teams. And then that last year they had everybody. It was like, holy
right.
cow, this is awesome. If you're some podunk college in Mississippi or something like that,
Yeah.
at least you're in the game. So, yeah.
Exactly. So now we're reaching the portion of the show that I'm really starting to dig. People like it, I guess. Maybe they hate it. I don't know, but I like to ask people some dumb questions, and trust me, I have a vast amount of dumb questions. So if you're okay, if you're game, let's give it a shot. All right.
Oh yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. So if you had to choose between the two, I mean, Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera, I mean, which one would you choose if you had to? Last two
Christina,
hot chicks on it.
it'd be Christina. She seems a little smarter, a
Yeah.
little more
She
flamboyant
seems like
for
she has a
sure.
little
But
bit more
yeah,
going in the mind than
little
the other
little
one.
more there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my pick.
All right. How about what was your first car, man? I honestly don't recall what anyone drove but myself, to be honest.
It wasn't too pretty, that's for sure. No, my very first car that I owned was a
Yeah.
$100 F10 pickup we picked out of the river, and we fixed it all up. It was a stick shift.
Yeah.
I couldn't drive a stick. We spent $4,000 on this truck, and I got it when I was 14 and sold it when I was almost 16, and then I ended up getting like a Cavalier or something like that.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
it
that was
wasn't
like
as
the
cool
big
as what
thing,
that
man.
truck was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
it wasn't anything special.
so you said you picked it. What do you so when you I mean you didn't know how to do a stick shift. Uh-oh, what happened? Are you still there?
Nope. I still see you.
Okay, that's weird. Okay, hold on. What are they
Looks
doing
like
now?
your face is all red.
Yeah, it is now. Ah, back
It's a
to me. That was
ghost.
weird. Okay, man, it was like the government's trying to shut me down. I don't know what happened. Or
It's
maybe I
that
just
ghost.
don't understand
There's a ghost right
technology.
next to you.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go back to what I was saying. So you didn't know how to drive a stick shift. How did you learn? I mean, did you eventually get used to it, or did you just like run the thing into the ground?
So, so my mom went out to like drive with me, and
Yeah.
literally we took the corner at like 45 mile an hour because I couldn't switch out of second gear, and it was a cable clutch. So every time you shifted, it jerked no matter what, and
Yeah.
it was very frustrating. So my older brother had to end up driving with me, and he's like, "You need to get a different car. You need to get an automatic. You're
It's
not
not for
ready." But
you. Yeah.
when, yeah, when I got older though, I love driving stick shifts. It's a lot of fun, like
Yeah.
when I got my Jeep that I have now, I almost got a stick, and my wife's like, "If I have to drive this, we're getting an automatic." And I'm like, "Dang it." I was like, "All right, let's
So
do that."
they do still offer. I mean, they do still offer stick shift if you want it, right? It's just not as
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cheaper too still. I mean, it's still like about $5,000 cheaper.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, that was my I mean, I learned it on my dad's truck. And so like I took my test on a stick. I was good at driving a stick for quite a while, but my first car was it was an 86 Camaro. It was a red 80. That's right. I don't know if you remember it. It was a kick-ass car, it was nice. It had like the typical where everyone always got a bra for those cars because it was like for whatever reason, I don't know if everyone hits the bumper a little bit or what, but it always blasted the paint off of it. So like every 80 some Camaro you see always has like a bunch of yellow like underneath it because somebody's like, I don't know, run into the next curb or whatever. But it was an awesome car.
Well, it
I had a
seemed to be the
Mazda
pretty popular
RX-7 in
one
high
too, for
school as
sure.
well. Do you remember that?
You had what again?
A Mazda RX-7. Do you even know what that is? It was a little sardine can car. It was a stick shift. It was fast. but it was like I was
Right.
a big guy. I mean, I weighed 305 in high school, and I was in this little stick shift car, so everybody used to give me crap all the time. It was
That's
like
probably
as a
hard to shift.
teenager.
You're like,
Yeah. I remember riding with Rob Rodriguez. I took him somewhere, and it was like, I mean, Rob Rodriguez was a big guy. And so like the two of us together, I'm pretty sure that car was bottomed out. And I'm pretty sure like
oh
we could
yeah.
have easily picked it up and just thrown it over a bridge or something if we wanted to get rid of it.
Well, I remember like Brandon, is it Brandon Schroeder or
Hmm.
who was the center for Lincoln
Yeah,
High
that was
back then?
Brandon. Yep.
And he was the smallest guy out of all you, and he was still like 270, 280.
Yeah.
And it was like we had a monster line. Like you guys were big boys, and it was like you guys would all get into a car, yeah, and it was like, oh.
You, you should have seen us at the pool, man. I remember after 2 days one time we went to the pool and then we went and ate at a buffet. And I remember
Oh
seeing the
no.
look in these people's eyes of like sheer terror as we like terrorized. It was like Val's buffet or something, man. But we did have an intimidating line. Like that is one thing I know we had was I know when people
Oh
showed up,
yeah.
some of us might not have been the tallest. I mean, I'm not quite 6 foot, but with cleats and stuff, I was probably, about 6 foot, 6'1". And all
Yeah.
these guys are big. And it was just like we had to have been pretty intimidating. Like we were massive compared to like Grand Island, where we tee off on guys like your size playing the line.
Oh yeah. It was great watching those games. Those are the games we won.
Yeah. I remember,
We were
that was
just
probably
bigger.
I think Wayne started after the homecoming where I got knocked out. I think Wayne started
Yeah.
that game after for me. And I was so proud of him because he got to play and he got in there. He was making plays, doing stuff. And I was just like, man, I was so proud of him, man. I hated that part. I know it's kind of dumb because sports are so like competitive, but I hated how
Yeah.
people, because there were sports where I had to sit the bench. I was always pretty good at most sports that I was in, but like I
Right.
mean, sitting the bench sucks. I mean, I was on varsity from as soon as I got to Lincoln High, I made varsity. But I don't know if you remember that about me, but I sat the bench for 2 years where I didn't get to do anything on varsity, but they let me play
Right.
like all the other teams below, and then I got to
Right.
like tee off on people. So and that probably wasn't fair because
But that's the fun of it. You
yeah,
earned your way to do that, and it's hard to teach kids nowadays that you have to earn it sometimes. It's not just you're just there, you show up, you're gonna play. I
right.
mean, I try to teach my kids that it's you got to work your butt off if you want to be the best or be one of the ones that are considered one of the good ones on the team. You don't just show up and become good.
Man, my
But yeah,
biggest regret. Do you remember the girl that played with us the one year? What was her
yeah,
name? Was it
yeah. Our freshman year,
was it Martina? Was that her name?
I think it's Martina. Yeah,
Man, I
she
remember this is
complained a
my biggest
lot.
regret in sports is I remember the coaches. I remember on a kickoff or something like practicing. I went over, and it was kind of like the Rudy thing, like in Rudy where the guy kind of like brushes him off and moves. I saw her and I could have killed her, you know what I mean? And I just kind of like brushed her
Right,
by. The coaches get in my face and they're like, "No, that's not happening." They're like, "She wants to play. She's gonna have to take it like everybody else." The next time I hit her so hard, I thought she died, dude. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I was intense
she
and I
probably
hit,
did.
yeah. And I remember her laying there, and it was like my biggest regret. Like I still wonder, like if she's still seeing stars from me hitting her to this day. Like what happened? What became of her?
Uh,
Why did she want to play? She was so small.
she was smaller than me, and I weighed
Yes.
like what 105, and I was only 5'9". So, and in the program, I said I still show the kids it's like I was 140. I'm like, they're like that's pretty small, and I'm like I was 105. Like
Yeah.
that's not
You got
that.
to
Like I
pad
never
the
got
you
on
got
the
to pad
field
the
really.
numbers, man.
Yeah, and the one play I remember, at my size is at Southeast because you had to play so many quarters to get your letter,
Mm-hmm.
and they put me in against Southeast where we were getting crushed, and
Yeah.
I hated defense. I could play offense. I could take hits. I couldn't give hits, and I'm like, they're like, all right, go in for free safety, and I'm like, all right, and this is against Southeast, and they still had their starters in, and I'm like, they're like, no one will get out to you or get to where you're at. Just play zone. And second play, one of the Rude brothers just comes barreling down the line right at me. I'm like, oh fudge. I'm like, I'm just gonna dive at his legs. If I
Yeah.
hit him, that's great. And I think I dove, and he just went right around me like, who the heck is that?
You just laid
Yeah,
and
and so
played
I
dead,
remember
man.
that.
Like, well, what do you
I was just
do?
like, oh my god.
Yeah. Those are the people I teed off on. Like when we would pull around like on like a pulling play, I was a guard on offense and I played defense too. I would go looking for the free safety or I mean, because those guys would always be right there looking to make the play, and I would just hammer them, dude. Like I would kill them to the point where I wanted their family to be worried. But then of course, then I get knocked out against East, where I don't even remember dressing. So it's like karma getting me back for
Right.
being such a jerk on the field. So it's
Do
a
you remember?
brutal
Do you
game,
remember our? Do you remember our state playoff game
right? Yeah.
against Omaha West Side?
Yes, I remember
We
well.
we I'll never forget it because we scored the first touchdown.
Yeah, I remember what
We're
play
like,
and everything because I was the
yeah, we're
pulling
gonna
guard
win,
on it. Yeah.
right? And we're gonna win. We're gonna win. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, they're like, so did you win? When I tell people, I'm like, 45 points later, we scored again.
Yeah. Wasn't that crazy? We opened up so strong, but it was like I can remember the guy that I was lined up against. I mean, these guys had serious skill, dude. Like the linemen were throwing moves that I'd never seen before. I had a hell of a time that game, even doing anything. And so it was like it was embarrassing. I mean, we probably didn't even shouldn't have been in. Obviously, we were a 4-win team, but we beat the right teams. But I mean,
We
we
beat
were
our
there
division, yeah.
and we participated.
I have the thing that said I played state football.
That's all that matters. Our kids will
That's
never
more than
know.
what some people
I
can
I
say.
tell them we won, man. We won the whole dang thing, right? Wait, no.
Shoot. We just don't have the championship trophy. That's at
Yeah,
school.
exactly.
Don't
I
go
scored
there.
the final touchdown, dude. Like I never got the ball, but then
But the funny thing is so like my daughter is super competitive, and it's crazy because both my dad and my uncle are in the Lincoln High Hall of Fame for multiple sports. My dad just got in a couple years ago for golf,
wow.
and she I joke with her. She's like, "Well, how many letters do you have?" And I go, "I have one, and I got it in football." And my like my other brother has two, and my oldest brother has zero. He quit varsity basketball halfway through because he wasn't getting to play. He's just like, I'm going to focus on academics. It's my
Yeah.
senior year. But then my nephew, he got, was it 10 letters by the
Holy
time he
shit.
graduated high school? He
Wow.
swims in college now, and she's like, I'm going to beat him. And I'm like, all right, let's see if you can do it. And sure enough, she's added it up. And by the end, when she graduates, she'll have 11 letters, and that's
Wow.
including academic letters. I was like, holy cow. We got her Letterman jacket this last week, and I'm like, you got to add more. Like, she's got bars everywhere on them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
here's my letter with my little football pen, and I'm like,
Right.
we'll just put that far away from dad's.
And that's wild. She's shooting for 11. My kids are not into sports at all, which is weird to me because I was like I've been obsessed with it my whole life. And so like my
Right.
daughter revealed to me, my youngest daughter, that when she when PE, when like they're playing football or anything, her and her friends will when the ball it could come to them possibly, they pretend like they're talking so that someone won't throw the ball to them. And so they're just not interested at all, dude. And so I'm
That's
telling them like,
crazy.
no, that we're not that type of family. We call for the ball, dude. Like but they're like, no, we don't even care. Like they don't even care what's going on in the game. They don't even know the score.
You're probably like, you need to truck that person when you see
Yeah,
them coming.
exactly. Trips don't do anything. No, they're talking to each other, hoping that the ball doesn't come to them.
I remember that. You remember that in PE class, and you'd have the people that ran the mile. Like you tried to run the mile. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna run the mile and get it in 7 seconds or seven
Yeah.
minutes. And then you got the people that like walk, and
That
you're
was
like,
me. I was trying to beat people my entire growing up. Like I was trying to beat the best. I mean, I
right,
was I wasn't as big as I was in high school. So when I was younger, I mean, I could move even for a big guy. But I mean, when I was
yeah, you
younger, I
could,
could really run. So and
right,
I mean, I even liked running as I got older too, until I mean, obviously with heart problems now, running's out of the
right.
question for me. But I mean, just to be honest with you, like a couple years ago, I couldn't even walk up the block, and now I've at least worked myself into being able to walk a nice route and everything. Hey, man, it is what it is, dude. But You
Right.
know, I'm good at other things. It's weird for me because I'm a guy who used to have three jobs. You know, I was always moving from one job to the next to, you know, being disabled due to my heart condition, and it's been something. So like this is a wonderful outlet for me, and you know, I really am privileged to be able to talk to you, you know, who also podcasts and do this. So man, I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it I've been kind of following you on Facebook for a while, and it was like you were doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden it just stopped.
Yeah.
And I was like, what happened to him? Where'd he go? And then I started you started doing more, and I'm like, but it makes sense about the whole heart issue. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something I think, isn't that the greatest part of getting older is we get all these new problems that we never had when we were younger, and
Oh,
injuries we had when we were younger that get back at us now because we have
yeah.
arthritis because of it. It sucks.
I never would have guessed I'd have been, well, at the time 38 and I would have a pacemaker, you know, running my heart and all this stuff. It's a scary thought when I think about it because it's like if the pacemaker quits, I quit. Like I'm 100% run on it. So it's like but it
Wow.
also gives you perspective. I look at life in a different way now. I look at life as a gift. I look at every day, every second, all this time that I get, you know, I could sit around and cry and complain about, you know, not being able to be the person that I used to be, but I also get to spend a lot of time with my family. I get to take my kids to things that I
Family.
never would have before. I was, you know, I was a drinker, you know, who you know played in bands and I was also an electrician. And so it's like I was never around. I was always working, you know, and when I wasn't working, I was doing, you know, like music and stuff and drinking. So it's like I'm actually fortunate that I don't have to do any of that anymore. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to, you know, I just get to spend time with my family and do things like this. So I
See,
mean,
that's awesome. I mean,
I'm a
but
true
that's what
testament that
it's
life
about.
can be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's in all honesty, it's one of those things that it shows you a glimpse of what you could lose, and
Right.
that's when you start to realize the things that are truly important to you,
Yeah.
not these little things that, like, oh, this gets me a little bit farther in life, or this one gets
Right.
me over here. It's your family is always, and I try to teach my kids, your family is your core. They're never going to leave you. They're never going to, they're always going to have your back.
Exactly.
And that's exactly like you said. I mean, I'm sure your family played a big part in all of that.
They did. They did, man. And it's like, I mean, yeah, it's just life's weird that way, but you got to make the best of it. So I tell people all the time, you know, people ask me, why do you do it? Why do you put out albums? Why do you, you know, why do I podcast? Why do I do all? I mean, it's a nice mind reprieve for me. I mean, I'm good at it. So it's like, why wouldn't I? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
why not put myself to use in some way? And I love talking to people. So, you know, this has been nice, man. I
it
know we don't
definitely
have a
makes it a
lot of
lot
time
easier.
left, so I'm going to ask you probably a couple more questions.
Mhm.
Um, First off, who's your favorite pro wrestler, man? Do you like wrestling at all?
Oh yeah, I like the Warrior.
Yeah,
That guy
yeah,
was
the
bad.
Warrior.
I don't know if I can say bad words, so I'm like, that guy
You can say whatever
was.
you want. Yeah, trust me. The guy that when this comes out, the guy that from the week that we had before you, trust me, there's plenty of bad words. So I probably should have made that clear. You can say whatever you want. Yeah,
No, he was my guy. The Warrior. I used to go to my dad's because my mom and dad were divorced, and he
yeah,
would get us WrestleMania and all that stuff, and everyone was a Hogan fan or something like that. But the Ultimate Warrior, I mean, the guy came out guns blazing, 100 mile an
yeah.
hour, and just awesome to watch. I don't
He
know
was
who
like a
was
race
yours.
car of a person. I mean, like he came out and ran so hard to the ring, he was gassed. You know, like
Yeah,
they.
and he's just like,
Yeah. I mean, all roided out and everything, but just like freaking out. I love the Warrior too. I always tell people if I had to choose a favorite, it'd be the Macho Man. I just for me, it was not just the oh yeah, but it was like all the promos and just all that. He was just the epitome of like a pro wrestler, but Ultimate Warrior as well. I mean, like if you
well,
think of
he
a
was
pro
more of the
wrestler,
slogans. He had great slogans, that's for sure.
yeah,
Macho Man did,
yeah.
but
But I mean, I gotta ask people because I still love wrestling. I don't care what anybody thinks. I know it's not real, but I love it so much. I watch it. But these guys are also putting their lives on the line. They're getting hurt all the time. So I mean, there
yeah,
is a certain amount of, I mean, danger. I mean, to what they're doing. So I
yeah.
hate when people are like, "Oh man, wrestling's so lame." I mean, I get it, but it's also like a soap opera for men, right? Like
Pretty
it helps.
much.
It's interesting to watch. You know, you get to have your favorites. Do you still watch it today?
So during COVID or right before COVID, kind of at COVID, me and my kids started watching a lot of it, and they
Yeah.
became huge fans of Becky Lynch.
Yep. Becky Lynch
And
is
the
good.
best one, I don't know about you, but the best show that they would put out for wrestling was now I can't think of it. What's the one where they keep coming out? Like they keep adding people to the wrestling match. It's the Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They
Royal
watch we
Rumble.
watched the Royal Rumble and they're like, this is awesome. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is what it's like. Like it's like 20 guys or 20 people in the ring and they're all battling out. And
Yeah.
it's amazing how wrestling has grown to be the females are actually fun to watch. Like they're kind of the
They
show
are.
at
They're sometimes
times.
most times they're the main event, man. I mean, like that shows you how far that's come. I mean, the women
Yeah,
are
because they were just a show up per they were like a cute person sitting on the sideline. Now they're pretty badass women. I mean,
they
they're fun
are.
to watch.
That's like the Royal Rumble is like there's always one pay-per-view that the rest of my family will watch with me together, and it is the Royal Rumble. It's like even my wife, who thinks wrestling is completely stupid, will watch the Royal Rumble and she'll be interested in it. Like by the end of it,
Right.
she'll be invested in somebody, and my kids are going nuts. And so it's like, I mean, that's fun, man. That's just good entertainment.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it keeps you. If your guy gets thrown out, you know you got like 20 more people coming back in. So you just pick
Yeah.
somebody else and hope they make it to the end. And yeah, it'd be a great gambling thing for sure.
It would. It would for sure, man. You know, Vince McMahon wins every time. You know what I mean? Like he
Right.
fixes it so that whoever's going for this person the most, I'm sure he's on the under or whatever for all of that. So Vince McMahon wins
Oh yeah.
again.
Yeah. Or it's whoever comes out last or second to last.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been awesome. I want to give you an opportunity if you want to plug some things before we go. Is there anything that you want to plug? I mean, plug your podcast, plug whatever you want, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, if anybody's a big dirt racing fan, Quicktime the podcast, we record Wednesday nights. We usually try to publish late Wednesday night into Thursday. But it's every week. We talk local racing, national racing, World of Outlaws, whatnot. Otherwise, yeah, or if you're a race car driver and you want me to design a race car, I can definitely help you out there. So yeah, but this has been a blast. Like this has
Thanks,
been a whole
man.
lot of fun talking about football and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm super pumped that you wanted you know, I reached out to you that you would want to do it. And man, you know, I really wish you the best and everything. It sounds like you guys are kind of the best of the biz when it comes to decal, and you guys are doing really well with your podcast. And I just thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, man. And when Iowa plays Michigan, man, it's over. We right?
Hey,
Iowa.
I got a new person to email or text me on that
That's
day. It's
right.
usually I get text when Nebraska plays them, and it's like, oh, they're gonna kill them, and then at the end of the day, they don't text me
Uh,
anything.
uh, Iowa had Michigan's number for a while, but I just don't know, man. Michigan's pretty darn strong. They put together some pretty sweet. Last year they were like I mean, I really thought they were gonna do so much better than they did, man.
It was just tough. I mean, I don't watch as much football on Saturdays because typically they're playing like teams they're going to beat. But like every year, I'll sit down and watch with my kids watch the Ohio State Michigan game because that to me is a game I watched as a kid and I've
Yeah.
watched it every year. And I
Yeah.
mean, I can remember watching it all sorts of different places. But I mean, it's something that childhood wise, I want them to grow up. And I joke with my daughter, I'm like, hey, if you want to take a school tour to Michigan, let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to go to Michigan, even better, because I'll come visit you on Fridays to Sundays.
Exactly. That'd be a dream come true, man. I don't think it's in the cards for my kids unless they do it academically. So I hope they like become scientists or something and go to Iowa,
You
but
never know.
never know.
You
Well,
never
thank you
know.
so much, Josh, and good luck to you, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Hey, it's been a great time on the show.
All right, man. Take care. Thank you.
All right, see ya.